Here we go. Call a regularly scheduled meeting of August 14, 2018 to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome all. We have just met our new top officers, so welcome again. Good luck, stay safe. We have the agenda before us. Are there any additions, corrections, deletions to the agenda by board members, department heads, staff, anybody? Anything? It's easy. Agenda will stand. So the first thing we have is unfinished business.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to adopt the 2019 alternative tax budget for Plain Township as presented and to authorize the Plain Township fiscal officer to submit 2 copies of this budget to the Stark County Auditor on or before August 20th.
So moved.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion?
I think for some clarification, I know I've had conversation with Lisa, but some of the things we gotta start looking forward to, some of changes in funding, especially the general fund. I mean, we're down about almost 900,000 just over the last couple years. We've got to start discussing with the community how we plan to neutralize that, because unless Columbus comes through and gets part of that rainy day fund kickback, which is now essentially being proposed to be capped out at 8.5%. I don't think there's anything immediate. We need to have still our own rainy day. And we've been fortunate because honestly, while all the other communities had to make some real hard cuts immediately because of how we were planning collectively through good department head planning and board planning, I think we're really at a point now where we've got some variables. Whether you look at zoning, it's been funded properly through skills gains the last couple of years with the big raids that went on there. I know when we met with Kurt Schuring last week, Lisa had asked, what's looking like on the radar there. There's some elements where they're trying to find a way to regulate them, but there's no immediate answer. So is there still going to be a short-term impact? Are these places all being back up? Are we still getting, making sure we're collecting fee revenue, or are we going to see a decline there? Because then that means those costs come back into the general fund.
And don't hold your breath on us getting local government funds back this year. They believe that bill will pass the House and Senate and then be vetoed by the governor. So at least now.
Because he has no use for townships.
No use
Like I
for
say,
local government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Do you think that'll come out before these laws?
Yeah, the plan is to have it on his desk, but they believe it'll be vetoed and then we'll start again.
so for the public's sake, it's just, we've leveraged so many different resources, whether it's grants to matching funds, to collaborations, but we're at the point where I personally don't want to see our general fund really going. I don't know what your guys' opinion is on that, but as much as our residents have been supportive of anything, the levy measure that we put before them because of what we've said we're going to do with it, we justified it and so forth. We also see that folks are starting to get that tap out on the taxes, especially with the property appraisals that have come up. So that was the only thing I wanted to know for the sake of comparing those.
Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes. Number 2.
Number 2 is a resolution to amend Resolution 18-369 for the purchase of those Kybak systems. And that is because on the quote, it did not include shipping, and they were very heavy machines. It was about a $40 or
84.
$84 shipping fee that now is in the price.
I'll move on unfinished number 2.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say they seem to be doing good work based on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bathrooms are brand new. I was fell over when I got those pictures. I mean, they are incredible. It took them some time to get to use the machinery. It's heavy, but once you get it in there, and they're going to start storing them at the bathrooms there, they look
I
brand
know.
new.
It's
Yeah, I was blown away.
good job. Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
And that is the end of unfinished business.
And that takes us to new business.
Thank you. New business number 1 is for discussion purposes about the fall yard waste. What we're looking at is opening Tuesday, October 9th, if the board is okay with it, and running Tuesdays through Sunday. So the only day that would be closed is Monday, and that would allow Joe's guys to push everything back, clean it up. If not, there's just, it's, too much for them to do. So instead of 7 days a week, 6 days a week with the Monday closed, Tuesday through Sunday, 8 to 6.
Let me ask you something. What, you want to keep it open till how long? October to,
Well, what we typically do, but we haven't put it in the newsletter because this is all new. And as we're getting in fees, we're submitting it. Typically, we close the first week after Christmas because we take Christmas trees.
can you,
Actually, we close
The second week?
right around Thanksgiving, seriously, full-time.
Oh, yeah.
Then we go back to 3 days.
Oh, 3 days a week after.
Until like middle of January,
right.
they still have Christmas trees.
Yeah, so for sure, we'll run it through the, up to Thanksgiving like we normally do, and then it'll be, let's see what it costs if it can continue for
How are we
Christmas
from the
trees.
funds aspect, based upon?
We're about
What's
20%.
the-
20% to the good?
We've only seen about 20% of it.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Which is good,
Yeah.
but we're not in the heavy season yet. But yeah, we're running it exactly like last year. The only difference is it'll be closed Monday, and then we'll again close the week of Thanksgiving, and then we'll see how much we've spent to see if we can open back up for Christmas trees.
help me out here, but October 9th, these aren't even coming down yet. So do we want it open that week?
That's typically when we open.
So I mean, if we can gain more time later when the leaves are actually down, does it really matter? If it doesn't matter, that's fine, but
It
if
depends
we
on the
need
time of
that.
year. This year, as dry as we've been.
Yeah.
They're gonna fall,
already.
they're falling already.
So
Mhm.
But even if they didn't bring a lot of leaves then,
They're gonna
we're
bring
not-
them later on.
we're not losing money by it
No.
just being
No.
open.
Yeah, that's why I asked.
Yeah.
We're losing money by being open.
No, nobody has to open and close it anymore, it's automatic, so if they don't come, they don't come.
I'm just trying to.
Yeah, no, that's- I thought about that
That's all I'm
too.
thinking, we better,
But
you know,
yeah, if you're
careful
paying
for
outside
limited.
of the tonnage
Correct.
on it.
Yeah.
I'd be
Yeah, we
concerned
don't
about
pay
it.
hours open.
We'll have to put people down there on the weekends,
Mhm.
some kind of hours to keep it pushed up because it
Yeah.
gets crazy outside.
And we
Especially
typically have
later-
done,
Later in October.
we've done a parts person, so it's not as expensive, and then somebody in the loader.
On the hours, did we want to stay 6P, extend or shorten? I mean, I
No,
think
we
we'll
do 8 to
have
6.
better lighting back there than
8
we've
to
had in the
6.
past.
Because it gets
It
dark.
gets dark
at
at 5.
Yeah,
So,
and too
That's
many
fine.
changes will be
That's fine.
confusing.
So the logic of Monday it not being open is just to let you
You
guys
guys
catch
catch
up
up
on
day.
the stuff you get
Mhm.
over the weekend.
try to get,
That makes sense.
earthwood to get dumpsters to us,
Yeah.
and we can load all day long or
Yeah.
whatever.
And really, that would have been the way to run it in the past, because they were running crazy on Mondays, so,
Yeah, that's,
As long as it's
that's,
not costing any more money, then
Nope.
I just thought it was a way that's conservative, but that's fine. Right?
Mhm.
all right. And then, item number 2, you have before you a very long resolution but what it does is it adopts the Joint Solid Waste Management District's amended solid waste management plan that has to be prepared in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, section 3734, and the Ohio EPA. It describes strategies and programs that will be implemented. In there, I also put the Plain Township Board of Trustees strongly encourages Stark Solid Waste District to fund the yard waste drop-off sites at the current funding. This plan then will be submitted to the EPA, and that is your resolution to adopt their amended plan.
So moved. And I will second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Yes, I spoke with David Held about the plan because I did go through and I started bookmarking things I thought that may affect us with the yard waste drop-off, to find out that these are the minimum measures. They're not required by the EPA or the revised code to offer the yard waste drop-offs. However, Jackson Township, Lawrence Township, and Tusk are not participating this year. I think he said Jackson Township alone was $86,000 in savings. He told me he feels solid that the yard waste will remain consistent and available for the next 5 years.
We still next year, I think the district from the commissioner level on that funding, they say if there's any changes to the 100,000 reduction heading into next year, will it stay up or is it?
He couldn't give me, because it's the, that joint, all those commissioners' decisions, but he thought with the savings from those townships not participating, it would remain the same.
Neutralize that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, it's something that does not have to be in the plan, but
No,
the revised code, you do have to adopt it if you so wish.
Especially if they're talking that 5 years out.
Mhm. Yes.
That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
New business number 3 is a resolution to adopt amendments to the Stark County erosion sediment control regulations in conjunction with the Stark County Commissioners. This is through soil and water.
I also move in new business 3.
I'll second.
Every 10 years, Soil and Water also has to adopt their amendments and their plans. The county commissioners have already adopted the resolution, and now it's to the township trustees to adopt the resolution. Soil and Water does a phenomenal job with the township. Joe and I work very closely with Rich Roan. Huge value-added benefit to the township.
If I read that right, we do that because of the Ohio Revised Code, because
Yes.
we are a home rule township.
That's right.
So we have to
You have
officially
to.
do this.
Mhm.
And it sounds to me like in the summary, when they're doing this, they actually put some things in there, if I read it right, that they won't have to create a whole new plan.
Correct.
They're able to bring in
Just do the
components.
amendment, yes.
So that sounds pretty good as well.
Mhm.
Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
And that's the end of new business.
Thank you. That takes us to the fiscal officer's report. Mr. Wolf.
Thank you. Fiscal Officer number 1 is a request for resolution to authorize the payment of pending warrants in amount of $194,640.08.
So moved. Second, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 2 is a request for resolution to authorize payment of regular payroll in an amount not to exceed $250,000.
I'll move on fiscal officer number 2.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 3 is a request for resolution to authorize payment for the following medical claims.
So moved.
And I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 4 is the financial report for the month of July. If there's any questions, I'm available after the meeting. Fiscal Officer number 5 is a request for resolution to authorize the following transfers.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 6 is a request for resolution to establish MasterCard and or Visa accounts in the amount of $20,000 at First Commonwealth Bank for the business use of designated employees and agents, and be it further resolved that Thomas W. Wolf, Fiscal Officer, is hereby authorized on behalf of Plain Township to take any and all actions reasonably necessary to effectuate the establishment of those credit card accounts, including but not limited to the execution of the First Commonwealth Bank company card line of credit agreement and disclosure statement, the designation of additional authorized cardholders, the termination of the credit card accounts associated or authorized cardholders in accordance with the procedures of the established by First Commonwealth Bank.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
This is to replace the Huntington cards we currently have. So we'll have 2 cards, each one will have a $10,000 credit line available. I've talked to First Commonwealth Bank, we're actually going to be moving our accounts there because we were able to negotiate lower fees. And they have the branch in Oakwood Square, which is more convenient for making the cash deposits.
Nice.
And the service with Huntington wasn't what I expected it would be, and we've had issues over the past couple months getting answers or getting support from them, so I think they've grown a little too big, too fast, and service isn't what it used to be, so.
That's awesome. Good. Good. That's awesome. Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And that concludes the fiscal officer report.
Next time, that takes us to the administrator.
Item number 1 is a resolution to authorize and approve payment for one 2019 Explorer Interceptor Sheriff Cruiser from Waco Auto Family at a cost of $31,280 plus the 45-day tags at a cost of $18.50.
So moved. Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
There was a sheriff's vehicle that was old and was involved in an accident. And it was a sheriff's vehicle we were going to take offline next year. The cost of the repairs more than the cost of the car's value. So given the situation with the Explorer Interceptor being discontinued in September, I thought it was best to just bring this to the board to purchase a car, to know that we're going to get that vehicle and we won't be in any long waiting line to replace. So this was the next vehicle to go anyways. It's just happening a little quicker.
Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Thank you. And that's the end of your administrator report.
Thank you. That takes us to Fire Chief Shell.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution to authorize payment to CFS Inspections to test all ground and aerial ladders and replace heat sensors in the amount not to exceed $3,000 to be paid from Fund 10A.
I'll move on FD number 1.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 2, resolution to hire Joel Gladys and Ross Weimer, who have successfully completed the Ohio Police and Fire medical examination and drug testing. Joel Gladys and Ross Weimer to be hired at 700 hours on August 26th as a Class 2 career firefighter paramedic with a 12-month probationary period. Wages and benefits are in accordance to the collective bargaining agreement.
So moved. Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes. Good fire department. Thank you, Chief. That takes us to road. Mr. Iacino.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the only item I have tonight is discussion. Trustee Lino and I have been talking about this for probably at least a couple of years, of purchasing a pipe camera So I've been looking at a lot of different styles. So we had a salesman come in today that I've been dealing with, I met him down at the OTA this past year. Several different kind of cameras. There's cameras that you could push through, and there's the truck mounted. Well, the push through ones only go through pipe that are sizes 4 to 8. So that's really not going to fit our needs, because I would say 80% of our pipe are between 12 and 24 inch, and they have various sizes from there. So we'd have to step up to this camera that I put some information there. The push ones are like $10,000. I talked to Jackson Township, they had purchased one, but it's not doing them any good because they can't use it on anything other than a 8-inch pipe, if that. And the farther you push, more like pushing a rope, you can't push it through. So you can't go 100 feet if you needed to go between catch basin. So I had Eric come down today to look at, it's really not software, but how the cameras work and everything. And this unit here is around $52,000. But it's got 1,000 feet of line on it. It's the head. If you go to the second page, you can see what kind of head it's got. It's got a rotating camera in it, so you can go 360 around the pipe to look for whatever problem you're looking for. It powers its way through, power its way back. There's other ways you can buy things. You can buy them with wheels on them. Right now, if we would purchase this, we'd just go with the tracks, because they expand and they rise, so we can get into bigger pipes with this. And then we also have a trailer that's been sitting around that used to be the road department's not used, and we were going to mount it. It's IDA, a closed-in trailer. So we always have it, covered and built a table in there and stuff to run this. This will make us proactive. Not only when we get the call about there's a sinkhole or stuff like that. Plain Township has more steel pipe underground than any township in Stark County. These numbers are coming from the Stark County Engineer's Office. And that pipe's all 50 to 60 years old, so it's starting to rot out, and we could have a lot of replacements in the future. That'll give us the ability to start looking at these pipe, and videotaping them, and then we can start planning for the future what needs to be replaced. Most of the cities around here have these, or several of them. Stark County has them. I think we'd be the first township, but we're also the only township with a factory. So, which these go hand in hand with each other. So, I just wanted to bring it to the board. Do you want me to continue to go forward? You want to hear anything Eric's got to say about the unit? The guy was pretty thorough on everything, and they trained us for 3 days also to how to operate that.
Well, we worked.
Is it state term?
It's under state terms.
Okay.
We worked diligently at trying to find a price point that was a little bit more what I would consider to be appropriate for use, but he really has no offerings between the entry level, which as soon as I saw it, I said that would work for a home use, but not for a commercial use. There was no mesh in between those two price points, unfortunately, and no way to even find a happy medium there. But when I saw what the machine's capabilities were and how that trolley works and all the capabilities of the camera and the lighting and the control mechanisms and everything else, I could see why the expense is where it's at. But good stuff isn't cheap and cheap stuff isn't good. But it would definitely fulfill 99% of the needs that they have for what they're looking for.
What's the projected useful life on something like this?
On this,
I'd say maintained, you'd have an indefinite lifespan.
any repairs, we can go right, his office is in the Cleveland area, so we can get, he said like a 3-day turnaround if we would need any repairs.
And the company that makes the product is actually out of Florida, so it's not an out-of-country operation.
Let's say the warranty.
You know what, we didn't ask about warranty.
I didn't see that. He did say that you're looking at a 90-day turnaround to order. They order them by specs and build them basically custom.
He's going to be giving me a quote in writing. I mean, I can get back if you want a warranty. It's neat to see what this thing can do for us. It really is. I mean, it might be, it'll help other departments. Anything that's stuck in a pipe or stuck in underground in anything, I mean, it might help, you know.
Does it show, what, can you snap a picture? and-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Video,
It's got a SIM card, where you can, you know.
it actually allows you to capture video as you're traversing through the pipe, and then you can document on a keyboard, you know, and it shows you how far in you are. So here we are at, 60 feet in, here's a break, here we are at 75, and you actually capture that on the video as well as snapping stills along the way if you want to.
Address you're on the street, you're on, how far in you
It'll
are.
help a resident, because I know there's been occasions when I've got a lot of calls, and Joe's went
Oh,
out.
it's happened over the years.
They've
We
done their
usually have to dig it
job,
up.
they accused us of-
Sometimes
you
we
didn't-
find something, sometimes we don't.
You weren't out there, you didn't clean it out, it's still clogged up, and Joe would say, no, we were out there. Yes, we did clean it. So this was,
You could have proof exactly what the inside of the culvert
that's
looks
how
like.
basically got kickstarted.
We talk about a lot of variables too with regard to the type of pipe that we have underground. The corrugated style has those ribs, that run all the way through like a spiral. That's another reason why the track, because we have so much of that, the track
Oh,
system
this
is.
system would, the other one would not.
The track would always be on the high spot. A part of the track would always be on the high spot, so it would keep moving forward.
Or if you get wheeled, you could get down in.
Right.
And those particular components, like between track and wheel and size of wheel, those are all add-on features that, down the road, if he decided, hey, I got a bunch of 40-inch pipe that I gotta go and I need bigger wheels, you can add, it's all plug-and-play stuff, so you can add to those trolleys.
Yes, and stuff. So,
Chief, how could your department use it?
And Joe just brought this up, this evening, and I could see us possibly using it for confined space rescue. We may have, could be animal rescue. I mean, we have had a call that we had somebody in a culvert. So, I mean, verifying where they're at, or locating. So
There's another feature
there's
which is
application for us.
which is actually kind of unique. As that traverses underground, you can buy a sensor that will tell you above the ground exactly where it's at. So rather than saying, okay, we're 50 feet in or whatever, measuring it, you literally walk in, and here's, the head's right here, so dig here, and you're going to find your obstruction or
it's
your
all
crack.
stuff we can buy at a later time, once we learn how to use this properly, we're trained.
It's impressive.
I mean, you got a line at the capital.
Yeah, I do.
capital equipment.
It would have been something I probably would have carried over into next year, tools and equipment.
It was talked about, Joe did talk about it in his 5-year plan for the capital.
And Mr. Lino's been bugging me about it, and I didn't want to just buy a camera to buy a camera. Something that's not going to work. I don't need something, even if it's a lot cheaper, that don't work for us. If we were doing 4-inch pipe, the other one would have worked fine, or 6-inch pipe.
But he did forecast this when he presented his levy.
I think it would be a consensus to, get a quote, keep looking at it, maybe research.
With the warranty and stuff.
Yeah.
Get that quote to me, and we'll have it at the next meeting. Because there is a 90-day out.
And, I don't know how often we have this, but, if you have somebody that's like using something illegal to enter that, you could almost find that, couldn't you?
We've had some oil stuff, and some issues.
Yeah.
That we've worked with the road department, and, it's kind of a cat and mouse thing to figure out where it's coming from.
Yeah, you'll never do that above ground.
And he said it's like video games.
Yeah, he actually said gamers do the best at operating. They use a Sony PlayStation to run it. Yeah.
Parents can be conflicted when he wants to.
Yeah.
Well,
Drone.
I told him the 60-inch culverts will just fly through them with a
Or
drone.
in the air, underground, in the
Yeah, they have it on your site, so it's
We need to transfer him to Joe's cost center.
Yeah.
Chuck?
Yeah, him and Paul like that kind of stuff.
That's good information.
All right, thank you. I'll be updating you guys as it comes in.
Thanks, Joe. That takes us to zoning, Mr. Ferrara.
Thank you, sir. First item on the agenda is a resolution to declare items A through H as nuisance abatements.
So moved. Second, it's been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
And the second item on the agenda is a resolution to pay for nuisance abatements A through C.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
And that's all for zoning.
Thanks, Tom. That'll take us to Parks, Mr. Steinberg.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution to authorize payment to Doug Mullally Plumbing LLC in the amount of $2045 to be taken from Fund 01F02 for replacement drinking fountains at Alpine that were fairly old and past their prime, as Doug told me when he went out to check it the last time.
Leaking issues or just
A finish leak, it actually, he was having trouble finding the hardware for the one to replace it.
So moved.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
That's it?
Thank you.
Sure. That takes us to communications.
Thank you. It's Friday, yes, Friday, August 17th at 1 o'clock. All of your department heads will be attending the Ohio Ethics Law training that is being sponsored by the Stark Council of Governments. It's absolutely free. It's given by Susan, I hope I don't botch her last name, it's like Wolecki. I've seen her talk before. She's excellent. She is the Education and Communications Administrator for the Ohio Ethics Commission. So we absolutely will be doing that. Item number 2 is to the Board of Trustees from Stark County Safe Communities, that they're partnering with the Sheriff's Office, Ohio State Patrol, the OBI Task Force to host a community-wide media event to support the National Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over campaign that begins August 17th through September 3rd. It's a county-wide program. Partners are the sheriff's officer, prosecutors, coroners, all kinds of healthcare professionals. They do state last year in Stark County, 52% of traffic fatalities involve drug or alcohol, and that's over half of them. Stark County does have a high rate of impaired driving fatalities. So they will be holding, an OBI task force will be holding a memorial checkpoint similar to the one that we had for Sandra, in memory of Joshua Hostetler. He was 28 years old and was killed when the vehicle he was driving was struck by an impaired driver who had multiple convictions for an OBI. So it's their way of making a statement and educating in the community. So that event is coming up.
Sergeant Koenig, anything to add to any of that?
With that, no. Sergeant Klein leads our task force, so he usually coordinates with the task force with that. So anything above and beyond what Ms. Campbell said, no, she pretty much covered everything that we know at this point.
Thanks.
And then lastly, I believe it's lastly, yes, is for the fire department with a beautifully decorated thank you and signed by all the students, which is very sweet. Thank you for allowing the Cub Scouts, Cub Scout Twilight to utilize our facility and resource, and for the water jugs during the last week of camp. It's a dedicated civic servants like yourselves that are making a difference to the community. And the 100 scouts at camp look up to you all as leaders, so thank you for all you do. And if you scroll it sideways, you can see the thank you, and it's all signed, which is really sweet.
And I can't take total credit for obviously the trustees let them use it. They kind of thought that was like our park or something because we had the fire station. So but they came up and got ice, water. Obviously, Parks Department got equipment for them, did other things, mowing, etc. But they did come up, and then we went back there a couple times with the gator and just kind of checked them out because they were there till like 9 o'clock each evening, and a good bunch of kids that came up. They hauled ice, water, all that stuff. It was hot that week that they were there. And so anyway, but not just for the fire department, but for all everybody involved. I think they just saw us like we were the keepers of the park or something. I don't know, but that would be good.
That seemed pretty successful.
They were very happy. I checked in with them on Monday, checked in with them again on Wednesday, and we walked through Friday morning kind of what their plan was for their closing ceremony, and they seemed thrilled. I mean, I'd love to have them back. I think they were great.
Yeah, I know, I went up there and kind of looked at their layout, and, I think that it was perfect, because it didn't interfere with any of our normal park activities. And, all the safety and everything was taken into consideration, and, it just seemed like that is a good place for them to be able to come together.
I felt like they were done well.
Well, geographically for them, it's home, and you and I
Yeah.
was even up at Quail, Hollow, I mean, this is one of the key drivers for wanting to have it here, so hopefully.
They felt like their attendance was up a little bit this year too, because it was a little more centrally located, so.
Well, again, I think that's that collective, collaborative effort. So no matter what we have going on, when somebody sees something that they jump in, pick up the slack, and that just makes it all better for a successful outcome, so.
And you guys saw it was hot, the fire department, and
Yeah.
made sure that they were hydrated and,
Yeah, they had like a little carpool thing, they brought up the coolers and loaded them all up, or whatever they. But I know other people were back, we didn't go back in the daytime, we were back in the evening, because there was nobody, around.
Been out there begging to turn the fire hose on.
Yeah, that's probably.
I know, it's so hot.
Hold on.
Well, luckily the splash pad was there, so.
Yeah, that's right. All right, good job, Chuck. Let me see, that takes us to the portion of the meeting of public speaks. If there's anybody in the audience that wishes to address the board, please give your name and address to the fiscal officer. You can do it from back there, you can come to the podium, however you wish to do it.
Just the address,
3055.
3055th Street. Okay.
And whenever you want to address the board, please feel free to do so.
My name's Ann Pastor. I live at 3055th Street Northeast. We have property on 55th Street that borders Central Lake, is in our backyard. On every year, anytime there is an excessive amount of rain, we get the runoff from the West Branch of the Nimishillen Creek that fills into Central Lake. It accumulates, southerly winds blow it to the north side of the lake, which is my property and several others on the north side of the lake. On June 16th of this year, we had an extraordinary rain. We have been at that property since 1991 and have never seen agricultural runoff. We had 4 feet deep of corn silage on our beach. And we have several hundred feet of beach, as well as rocks around. Took my kayak and put my kayak in the West Branch of the Nimishillen Creek from Mount Pleasant heading south. There is an extraordinary amount of residents who are depositing yard waste directly over the bank into the creek. We get high water or high rains, that washes down every year. We get feet that we need to clean off of our property, which makes it a little hard to abide by the yard waste collection. We do burn. We call the fire department. We burn. We have several tons of debris. This year we had an algae bloom of horsehair algae that covers. I kayaked around the entire lake, and there's a reason I kayaked. Kayaked around the entire lake. It is around the entire perimeter of Central Lake. The northern side of the lake has algae, I'm going to guess 50 to 100 feet from shore going all the way to the bottom of the lake. That has never happened in the past 30 years. I'm guessing, I don't know this for sure, but algae is a result of high nitrogen content. I'm guessing we have runoff coming from one of the 6 parcels that are bordering the West Branch of the Nimishillen Creek. There are 156 acres of tillable land according to the Stark County Auditor's property maps. The majority of those acres are held by one individual, J&D Partnership, and a moderate number are held by Michael and Mary Bagnoli trustees. They only have 30 acres, and I don't believe they planted corn last year. Is there something that we can do? I mean, right now, we've looked into aeration, which is going to cost us as homeowners about $20,000 to put in a pump, as well as a monthly cost of about $51 per month to run those pumps. My neighbor and I did spread baking soda to kill the topmost algae. Yesterday, we spread almost 100 pounds of baking soda, which only covers a small portion. We have a 500-acre lake, and no one is able to use the lake that has a boat with a propeller. We have no jet skis in the lake, because if you get this stuff sucked up into your impeller.
You're talking central, the Harmon Quarry Central Outlet Lake.
The one that's behind the house you just bought, yes.
All right.
Yeah, hi neighbor.
Yeah.
Also, it's impossible to swim in the lake. Edgar?
I would, if you don't mind, I've actually kayaked around it. We've got kayak and paddle board. I mean, there's certain areas you can't go just because it's so shallow, but within the last couple of weeks, it really has been bad, the algae floating around, because I've been out there just trying to get it broken. And
You can't
typically
break.
where I would jump into the water, pretty much the only reason I'm on the water is if I get thrown off the tube by my wife. It's not something where you're like, oh, well, hey, it's lake water. It's
No,
disgusting.
this is
And on the north side where it's shallow, there's a shelf. I mean, even when I kayak, I mean, I've bottomed out. So I mean, I say that because I'm dealing with the runoff, the shallowness, the light. It's making that.
This is Spirogyra algae, also known as a horsehair algae, which doubles. It reproduces by breaking off platelets of the algae. So every time a boat runs through it, it cuts it. That has the ability to double in size every 24 hours. So who do we turn to for help, A, with people throwing yard waste in the creek, B, with stormwater runoff from the individuals who are farming? They have drainage tiles coming down into the creek, which is against, I believe it's Home Rule 1300.
It starts flowing water.
It starts soil and water, yeah, because agricultural properties are under different regulations than we are with stormwater.
Yeah, I know, I read that several times.
And actually, they're getting federally, they're reducing, you know, the oversight of it. It would be Rich Roan at Stark County Soil and Water. He would come out and look at the dumping, number one, also the lake, and the properties with the runoff.
Now, we purchased an oil boom from the folks that made the boom for the oil spills in Katrina. I think we have about 700 feet that we stretch across 3 or 4 properties. ODNR has been out to ask us if we've had this containment spill, and we've told them that no, it is not a containment spill. That's there to keep stuff off of my beach. $500 worth of veterinary bills. My dog was swimming in the lake, and it is rife with Giardia.
Yes.
So my guess is it's not safe to swim in. So can we get someone to test it?
That, again, that would be,
Soil and water?
I'd start with soil and water with that. Now, my other concern is if there's the drainage tiles, I don't know if the health department gets involved. But Rich would be the one to, Rich would be the one to talk to Start Soil and Water, and I'm trying to, do you have this phone number on your phone?
Because jurisdictionally, he would handle even when you're upstream and you were talking about coming from up there down.
Okay, but these are Plain Township owners that are polluting our
Most are.
waterways.
Most are.
There's a lot of
All-
farm, you know.
Yeah, a lot of
Well,
farms.
I mean,
I gotta sell.
there are some places,
I
when
got-
you
I
put
got
in at
office.
Mount Pleasant, that they aren't.
Correct, but the properties that I looked at that had tillable land
Correct.
are all Plain
Yes,
Township.
correct.
And that's on the website.
I was
gonna-
just addressing the yard waste that they were dumping
Yeah,
in.
the yard
and
waste
stuff
is just ridiculous. And
Yeah, that's.
on another
absurd.
note, the beautiful bridge that we have on 55th Street has been tagged with graffiti from the underside because of our lovely youth in the area.
I've got Rich Ron's number.
I'm writing it down.
Okay.
Yeah, I have his office number and then his direct line. But let me give you that.
He might be bringing the EPA in, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'd be the guy that would do it.
Yeah, he is a good guy. He will be your advocate.
Anything over an acre, that's.
It will.
Sorry about that. Yeah, and then his cell phone is the, oh, I gotta go right. Sure.
Okay. Do you have any questions for me?
See, you're right to the west where the channel feeds in.
Jenny West owns the property where the Michelin Creek comes in,
Yeah, right under the bridge.
from under the bridge to
Yeah.
3055th. We are the northernmost property on the lake. From the GIS map, you can see the barrier, and we have the only private beach on the lake. And then moving around, we're about 5 of us that get the brunt of the debris.
Well, so we, for the sake of this past storm, provide her information.
Got
We
it,
are
right.
also, we are also going to.
Mhm, Joe and I will call.
Call, and then have any type of follow-up dialogue as necessary. So, you know,
Yeah,
Can you get her phone number?
Oh, yeah.
It's
Case.
330-417-1894.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, I appreciate your
No,
comment.
thank you. Didn't we just like riparian? just do
Yeah, we do
something
have the
along that
riparian
line? So
corridor, so if,
We have a riparian corridor that we did some work on.
yeah,
and-
people are dumping,
a year
they're
and a half
gonna,
ago.
Yeah, and that, I think that
They'll come before the
prohibits a
board,
lot
yeah.
of the things
it
that
does.
you
Absolutely.
described as far as yard waste, so.
And I have no problem going down and videoing. I can tell you the individuals that are doing it.
How about when I call you, but Joe,
Yeah.
we'll go over it because we do through a home rule resolution, we can make them responsible.
Yeah,
Yes.
we spend the majority of our summer cleaning trash from people upstream.
That's all.
And it's all yard waste.
That's all.
That's
So
definitely not.
Thank you, hopefully we can collaborate.
Yes.
it would be wonderful.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Hi, my name is Virginia West. I live at 3022 55th Street Northeast. And I just wish to substantiate Mrs. Pastor's claims. I have here a bag of the silage. It is evidently corn stalks, corn husks. So it's rolling off somewhere farmland. And to thank you, you make a great effort in Plain Township to collect yard waste, keep our township looking spanking new. But we have a real issue out back, and it smells bad. I don't know if you noticed that, Mr. Haas, the odor from it.
Out there with corn salad, it smells like rotten.
No, I meant the algae that we now have.
The algae, I mean, outside of having been on the water, I haven't taken the boat back that far because of how shallow it is.
Yeah, yeah, you need to.
No, I know right where you're
Okay,
at.
but we do appreciate you, showing some attention to this matter because it's going to go down in the Martindale Park, and which is, you've done a lovely job with that, or Stark County has, and we want this area to be desirable. And today, it isn't desirable at all. In addition to the silage and yard debris, we pulled out tires, numerous bottles, and someone upstream really loves the rum. But thank you very much for listening to us, and thank you for your, attempt to assist.
Yeah, we will definitely, Joe and I will call tomorrow.
Thank you.
And
Do something.
I have your number, so if you get a call, you might get a call from Rich from his cell phone or direct line too.
Okay.
If you probably can, yeah.
I sign in back in, but you just need
Just your name and address.
Susan Beatty, 6144 Woodcrest Avenue Northeast. And I'm here regarding the ongoing traffic speeding problem on Bell, that is still a problem. When I was here before, and I don't remember the date, perhaps that could be looked at, but I was promised the speed buggy, and that was in effect for maybe 36 hours, not even, days. And a policeman to monitor, but he sat at the top of the hill, and you could see him all the way from Market Avenue, so of course you weren't gonna speed. I mean, that's a long, straight thoroughfare that you've paved now, and it is just a highway.
Is the problem on McDowell or Grove?
I don't know about Grove, I live on Woodcrest in McDowell, so I really don't. It doesn't seem to be a problem on Grove, but I don't live on Grove, so.
I do believe we had the speed buggy out there more than one time. I'll check our records to see the timeline that was out there.
And we want
As
to
far
keep the
as the
speed
sheriff
buggies
goes,
separate from the sheriff, because
Yeah.
when the speed buggy's out there, people are gonna slow down, and then they're not gonna get anybody. So can you coordinate with Joe and see when he's putting the buggy out separately from you?
Yeah,
And I have said you are more than welcome to sit in my driveway.
we actually have an email, Deputy
Perfect,
Sluga.
because that way they won't see you until they're almost there.
I think you spoke with Deputy Sluga, and
Yes.
we actually put an email out to
Thank you.
all of our patrol
And
units
that's, you're more than welcome to
that
sit
it's okay
there,
to sit in your
because they'll be
driveway.
almost to the stop sign before they see you.
Yeah, and that's very helpful, letting us sit in the driveway,
Sure.
so we'll definitely be taking advantage of that.
Okay, and I know you guys are hard pressed and,
We,
thin, I understand that,
we're
but
good. So
And
we'll
and
get
Mr.
some.
Dino brought up a great idea, because we just got our pop unit on duty. Do you wanna?
Well, today we just were introduced to two gentlemen who will be on the pop unit, and this is their responsibility. Things like this to get relief from the other deputies, and now they sit there, and now we catch the speeder, so.
To be proactive.
oh,
Yes,
well,
this is
okay, that's exclusively their job.
Well, they deal with other
There's a whole-
communities.
it's not- it's not just
But
speeding.
one of those things
We're
is so
nowhere
we're
near
not
that.
taking a deputy from an area
Right,
and.
I totally get that, this is a huge county, the fifth largest in the state of Ohio, and I understand that my concerns aren't, a priority. But is there anything else that we can do? I mean, are speed bumps ever gonna be a problem? Can I write ODOT, can I go?
Well, we can speed bumps present a number of issues in and of themselves.
Well,
From a road maintenance aspect.
Snow plowing in the winter is the worst.
Oh.
You research something kind of.
Is there a particular time, or does it appear
It's
that they're
mostly
like
the
doing
afternoons.
cut-through, maybe to avoid the light, maybe just?
Our speed buggy gives us the times that it's the worst.
Oh, okay.
Those are the
Yeah,
afternoons.
we work with the
Yeah.
sheriff's office, so they can get a deputy out there at that time. when it
Okay.
is
She's saying
the worst.
afternoons, and then, is there any particular vehicle that you notice? Because
There are two families that are the notorious ones, but I have gotten my cell phone out and pretended to video them, and all of a sudden they're slowing down.
that would help, you can get, if you could find out what vehicle. it is,
Well, I know
because they-
exactly, I can give you vehicles, yeah,
And,
I know exactly who it is, and they are furious with me.
She has the vehicle numbers, the vehicles
Somebody's
also.
talking back there.
They're starting, yeah, they're getting nervous now, so they're starting.
Just be careful.
Yeah.
Slow down. I mean, they're not conniving, manipulative.
Well, I know,
Yeah,
we're
that's-
vengeful people,
that's-
these
yeah.
are very hateful
Yes.
people, yes.
That'd be the last thing I want to hear.
I
is-
know.
But to get, hopefully this pop unit, I still say the persistency of our deputies out there. to-
Well, exactly,
to be
because
that-
look at Markward, we don't speed on Markward because you never know when there's something.
Right, and that eventually.
And they've nailed way too many people
Right,
on
and
that.
that's what we need to have that
Exactly.
out there where
Yes.
now residents saying, okay, are they out there? today?
Yeah, exactly. So
Once
when they
that-
pop over the hill and they're sitting in my driveway where they can't see you, then.
And we'll typically, with the staffing that we've typically been putting a traffic car in our lineup.
Okay,
So we'll have, X amount of cars on the shift, and then we'll throw somebody to specifically do traffic.
thank you.
So, but like I said, we've put that pass down to all of our patrol units with that we can sit in your driveway.
Thank you.
So you will definitely start seeing an
Okay.
uptick.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time this
Thank
evening.
you. Yes, anybody else? All right, that takes us to the approval of the minutes. Before we actually do that, Mr. Wolf, thank you for getting those out prior to.
Oh.
That is so nice to be able to just redo those and, take a look at them, so.
Sure.
I know it's a lot of extra work, but, that is nice for us to be able to look at those, so. So the approval for, I will move for the approval of the motion that is in front of us for those meetings. So it's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes. We do have a need for an executive session, being hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to adjourn to executive session at 6:57 PM on 8/14 is authorized under Ohio Revised Code 121.22G for the purpose of the consideration of 1D as in Delta discipline of a public employee or official.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Thanks, ladies.